Good morning, Libra. I hope that this is a great day for you. It's so great to see you. Really exciting stuff coming through today. Past couple days, there's been a lot of channeled messages, so I'm starting a minute late, but I wanted to make sure that I got everything ready for you. So let's talk a little bit about what's on the agenda for today and how it's going to be organized. So I always read a month ahead, so this will be for the month of April. And you can always use my readings for your sun sign, for your moon, also for your rising. If you happen to know other aspects of your chart, or if you want to watch on behalf of someone else, you can do that as well. Also, as many of you know, I'm an intuitive channeler, so the beginning portion, especially all of these cards that I have on the table here, the messages there are pretty much for anybody that wants to show up. So you can join any of my readings, and a lot of times the beginning portion will resonate, even if you don't have that sign in your chart. That's just kind of the way I work. But I am specifically organizing this for the sign of Libra. All right, so the way that this is organized is in a few parts. First of all, my name is Nicholas Ashbaugh. This furry little guy here is Apollo. I like to bring him up at the beginning so he can share some love with all of us. But the way that I organize this is in 4 major parts. I start with the channeled messages at the beginning. I move along to the Celtic Cross right afterwards. The Celtic Cross, in the way that I read, basically is very open. So we don't have to focus it just on love or just on relationships, because there's so much more in life, and because I think that I really just want to leave it open to whatever needs to come through. After that, we will go into an expanded forecast to take a look at specific areas that I know all of you appreciate, including health, wealth, love, and destiny. Then I like to do a quick review in case anyone joined late, and we'll go into a deeper portion called the soul path, during which time we can explore some of the major themes a little bit deeper. Or if there's a question that I have as I look at all of the cards and messages, I'll kind of go more into that so that you can get all the clarity that you need to have basically a clear path for the month ahead. I then help us with a meditation to kind of seal everything off and get us into a good state. And then after that, I pull an additional card where if there's something that you're really dealing with personally, since I don't take questions in the live chat, I do that as my equivalent of a pick a card. I just pick a single card, but basically you hold your question and intention, and I will read a message about that. So that's something new that I'm doing at the end. And that's the format. So welcome everybody. Whether this is your first time, you're gonna have a great time, or if you're a return viewer, thank you so much, because you guys make it all possible and you make it worth showing up each and every day. Before we get started, just a couple of notes. Since I don't do questions, one of the ways you can still show support, however, is Super Chat. So if you'd like to say thank you, there's this little icon right by the emojis, the $, and you can send a sticker. I saw that we already have like a new channel member, and there was already some contributions right when I got started. Thank you so much. I'm using a new deck that I got actually from someone's comment suggestions. I've used this a couple times this month. This will be the last time for this month. Maybe I'll do it in the collective, but so thank you. It helps me buy supplies, and it helps me sort of stay stocked even with things like the index cards. You can also on replay use this little feature applause. I've noticed a lot of people doing it. It's cool. I'll always hit a little heart sign when I see that. I do see it. It puts a comment when you do it as well. So thank you so much. Okay, let's get started. Today I had a really sacred symbol come to me as I was tuning into the sign of Libra, and clearly, I love animals, and especially dogs, but one of my spirit totems is a wolf, and it came through today and wanted me to kind of talk about what's important about this totem to you. So the wolf is your totem for today, for this month, and gosh, it had a lot to say, and most of the messages on my table today are kind of from that totem, so I'm just kind of getting them arranged here in a way that I can see. All right, so the wolf is coming through, and of course, I would be remiss not to talk about instinct first and foremost with the wolf. Feel out the situation or the decisions that are currently going on in your life, and really trust that above all else. The more that you start to step into your intuitive side, the more you start to learn about kind of reading the signs as you were, you're going to understand that that first impression is so strong. And I was talking, was it yesterday? Yeah, yesterday to everyone about how sometimes you just know that you should or shouldn't do something. And I guess it just takes sometimes going through going through the fire a bit to know that you're going to have to start to listen to that voice, to that feeling. With the wolf, it's a more subtle energy. So it doesn't always come through as clairvoyance or clairaudience. It would come through as a knowing, right? Or a feeling. So one of the gifts that I have, it can sometimes be a little challenging, is I can, through empathy, I can feel, if I tune in, I can feel somebody's emotions. And it doesn't mean that I feel it. It means that sometimes in my body, I will feel sensations. So I can feel like a knife going into my stomach if someone's having a power issue or is angry or not processing something well. I can feel heat or fire around the crown chakra if someone's angry. I felt like needles in my fingers before if someone's typing a text that's angry or mean. So empathy works in strange ways. It's usually quick. It doesn't torture you or anything, but you can get to the bottom of something if you're talking to someone and all of a sudden you pick up on a feeling in your body, like, or you feel anxious or you feel sweaty or warm or something's off. Trust that, because that is sometimes even more powerful than the intuitive clairvoyance that you may pick up on. That's your survival instinct. So instinct and intuition, two different things, but closely related. And the instinct feeds the intuition. So feel it out on an energetic level and on a body level. And that's another important way that you can tap into senses beyond the major ones. So we have many, so I'm not going to put a number on how many, because there's a lot of clairvoyant sort of senses that you can have. But I would just say, go beyond what is visible, what is audible, and even kind of like what you're feeling tactily. Instead, kind of feel it out energetically. And that's going to help you decide, is this the person that I want to trust as a friend? Is this someone that I want to marry? Is this a job that I want to commit to? Should I be leaving now? Do I like this home or apartment? All of these things can be answered sometimes by stepping into a situation and just taking a breath, looking around and feeling it inside, right? Energetically, okay? The other thing with the wolf, I think of a pack, right? A pack of wolves. So one of the most important things to kind of focus on this month is familial healing and setting boundaries for many of you. Reciprocity, looking at the give and take. I like to remind all of you that you can continue to do this after someone has passed away and is on the other side, is in spirit. So if you have a parent, a friend, a loved one, even a pet, that you have some sort of a feeling of unresolved karma, or there's just some questions or some thoughts or some things that you want to work out, you can continue that, absolutely. And it helps them and it helps you. And if and when you decide to kind of meet one another in another lifetime, it'll be better for the work that you continue to do while you're alive in this lifetime. Relationships and loyalty are going to be very important this month. I think the loyalty piece is where you're going to see some sort of a test or a revelation. What I saw, it wasn't me, it was a group of other people, but I was looking at this sort of, I guess it was things coming back to that you were kind of picking up on. So it was either someone was talking about you or they were doing something that made them sort of like reveal their true colors. So there may be someone in your life for some of you that you trust, and they just kind of cross the line, or they say something and you realize, wow, I thought that this person had my back. The flip side is true, because I saw someone coming to your aid. So what's so often the case with energy is that, and I've been talking about this month, as you sort of rise to a new level, or even sometimes take a half step down or something, you'll notice that people around you start to react in kind, because we have choices. As you, let's say you go 3 or 4 steps up energetically and you're starting to really do some work on yourself, feeling better, working on self-confidence, working on manifestation, all that good jazz. And then all of a sudden people around you notice changes, and they're either inspired and maybe start to level up too, or they just kind of fade away because they can't relate to you as much. So that's where it's kind of either that line between inspiration or jealousy that happens sometimes. So you can be an inspiration to others, or they can get envious or jealous of you, or they just don't understand you and they fall away. But what I often see when that happens is someone higher quality will come in. I didn't write this down, but it's coming to me now. But it's always about quantity, quality over quantity. Sometimes we think that a big group of friends is better. I would say a small group of core friends is better. So reverse what I just said. Quantity is not as important as quality. So focus on the how much you value them, how much they're there for you. So someone will either step up or perhaps fall short of expectations. Either way, it's a blessing because you're going to know how to better invest your time and energy, quality. If you find yourself kind of as the lone wolf, just a reminder, you're going to be able to do this on your own. It'll be fine, even without the support of that group, especially if that group was, vindictive or, just not really there on your side. It's better to let that go. It's better to release the toxicity and to invite in something else. And in fact, in this period of time, sometimes you find a renewed sense of entrepreneurship, that energy of I can do this on my own, or self-reliance. And then you can attract a chosen family, which is often stronger than blood relatives. So the chosen family, it's basically like we have to biologically come through a certain chain, and that's kind of what our parents are. And they really just give us that. I've talked before, it can be like an elevator, and the decision is whether they want to stick with you after that. But it's that delivery, or it's the entrance into this planet. And how much of a role they play after that is basically up to them and up to the karmic decisions that you guys have kind of made out of body. But when you get to choose who you kind of lean on as a brother or a sister or a mother or a father, even though they're not actually biologically that's so much more powerful because that's your choice. That's why I actually think adoption is so amazing. A lot of times I'm coaching for people and they're worried about their biological clock, or they're worried about, wanting their kid to look like them. And maybe that's a reason that they don't want to do an adoption. And that's when I kind of point to this little fuzzy guy in the ground here. If you ever adopted a pet, for those of you especially that may not have kids, you realize that you can love something that isn't even human, but as if it were. I love him as the soul that he is, little Apollo there. So I believe that sometimes it's more powerful when you selectively say, I choose to make you a part of my life in one way, shape, or form, whether it's like I'm going to take responsibility for you as long as you are on this planet, or I choose to be in partnership with you, or I trust you like a brother or sister or a mother or father. The chosen family is so strong. So if you felt like growing up you didn't have it, seek it. Find that in your life now. Cultivate it. You don't need it. The lone wolf came through to kind of remind all of us that you can do this on your own. But if you seek it, because wolves tend to like company, then find that pack, find that sort of chosen tribe, if you will, right? One of the other interesting things is, have you ever noticed, if you think back to maybe like a really bad job or a really tough time in school, or a time when you were just pushed to your limits, someone that was there with you, typically that bond of friendship, it can grow into something deeper, and you can have that sort of chosen energy that I talked about, whether it's kind of like best friend or brother, sister. I know that if I think back, a lot of times, like some of the worst jobs, I met some of the best friends and I kept in touch with them. And I think it's because if you can support one another through a tricky time like that, it's easy to be happy for them when they're successful. It's easy to be there when things are not as difficult. And it's just nice to see growth because you both remember how it was to be in that sort of difficult situation. So if you haven't noticed, relationships are playing a big part for all of this sign this month. So Libra, I'm interested to see here in just a moment, as we get into the cards, how that's going to play out. Okay. As I said here, karmic energy might be coming through. For some of you, you might reconnect with a karmic partner. And because you're going through an important time, it doesn't have to just be challenging. Maybe there's just a lot of eyes on you. And at that point in time, you've kind of contractually agreed to meet with someone who's going to help you, go to the next level. So I feel that for many of you, if you felt alone for a while, even if you've been partnered up, you've been longing for maybe a good friend, maybe a mentor, something like that, you're calling it in, and keep doing that. I feel like that will happen. I don't necessarily think it's going to happen in April, but I feel the energy of that next person sort of imprinted around you, if you will. So keep focusing on it and be specific in what you're trying to accomplish with that. So I've talked before about the importance of not just generically saying, I want to find a best friend, I want to find a lover, I want to get this job. Ask for like the higher versions of these things. So you want to really make sure, if you're looking for a partner, for instance, in love, that they are available, that they are independent, that they don't have any sort of also other dependencies or not, or addictions or anything like that. Really just say you're looking for the highest possible energy. And you can always ask the universe to surprise you with something that you can't imagine that's above and beyond what you had asked for. That way you can be pleasantly surprised. It's a little piece of manifestation, and we might work on that on the collective. By the way, I'll be doing a collective on the 28th of this month. Everyone's welcome. So anyway, really, really important piece there. If the karmic partner comes in, the instinct portion is super important. So I've usually been able to suss out in about 1 to 3 minutes when I meet someone that's a karmic partner, if this is going to be a positive karmic connection or if this is going to be challenging. So usually it's just this sort of like rush of joy when you meet someone and you just click, and there's like smiles, there's energy. And again, this can be platonic, but you just feel this sense of love, platonic love and friendship, especially when it's a best friend and you just think, we're going to be friends. I can feel it. And I also have had instances where the first time I meet someone, I try to give them the benefit of the doubt, but, and we're going to talk about this. I want to believe in capacity, but I also want you to pay attention to the download. If you hear something clairaudiently, or if you feel something where you know what the karmic contract is, then you really have to resolve that first and foremost. So if you know there's some trouble or some energy between the two of you, fix that first before you start to invest in that relationship. I think of wolves as hunters and being able to stand their own ground. So I want you to defend your dreams and really do what I just said there, stand your own ground. If somebody asks you why you think something's a valid point of view, or if you're trying to, sell an idea or patent or, pitch something in some way, shape or form to another individual, and they just try to poke a hole in the idea, they may not feel the way that they're feeling. They're just probably trying to get to the bottom of, do you believe in yourself? So I want you to believe in yourself and stand up for something. You can always change your point of view, or you can say, that's a great question. I still feel really passionate about this. I'm open to a conversation, but this is how I arrived at that. So always be willing to really show the passion that you have and the conviction. But yeah, I think hopefully that makes sense. You don't want to just say, oh yeah, you're right, I don't like it. Then they're going to step away. So stand up for what matters in your life. I also think wolves are amazing at exploring and kind of finding their way. So what are you trying to do in your life? I've been pushing all signs this month to understand soul purpose. I saw some frustration in previous sign when I was talking about this, people saying, I don't know what my life purpose is. I don't know what to do next. Okay, explore. I want you to think about this. And I'm going to talk a little bit about what I said before, which is, it should feel really easy and really something that kind of like gives you vitality and a sense of joy and curiosity. So what makes you curious? What makes you feel butterflies in a good way in your stomach? Like, ooh, I don't know if I can do this, but I want to try it. Maybe this is worth it. So we have less fear when we're young because we feel like, I've got time, but you always have time. I did my kind of career pivot late, middle of my career, 15 years into it. And you can still do that at any point. So whether you're, in your 40s, whether you're 20, whether you're 75, whether you're 100, you're always able to kind of make a pivot and try something different. But it should be easy. Imagine that you had all the time and all the money in the world, and you could spend your time however you'd like to. What would you occupy your day with? That should be an easy go-to. Most of us know what makes us happy. That should be a starting point. And I'd also like you to think about what you don't want to do. And if you've been now kind of do a self-audit of the jobs and the relationships that you've had and think, how are they tracking towards that list of pros and cons? Am I more in the sort of like things that I don't like, or am I focusing on some of the things that I like? And I want you to go more towards this so that you can start to feel more aligned to your soul purpose. Because when you're happier, you're more successful. When you're joyful, you're more fun to be around, and it's easier for people to connect with all of that. And I think that that's really important. So finding a soul family is key. And then finding what you truly want to do is key. When you kind of, I'm going to use the word divorce. When you divorce yourself from this feeling of obligation towards your actual family or old friends from school that, you had no choice but to kind of connect with, when you start to choose your path and choose your way, you're not tethered by what mom, dad, teacher, sister, brother, best friend, whatever from the past wanted you to be. It's sometimes much more fun to challenge and confound and surprise them by the path that you're on. And I can't wait to see what you do with that. I really can't, because we need more people breaking out and doing what they want. And then there's this sort of difference between chasing your dream and calling it in. I want you to do a little bit of both. It's like the Three of Wands card, where you can see it coming and then you're going to go that extra step to make it happen faster. So see it and then actually go after it. But you're going to, Two of Wands and Three of Wands energy is going to be there first. You're going to see it and call it. You're going to then see it happening, and then you're going to make it happen a little bit faster. So you have to see it and believe it. Otherwise, you're just running after something. So part of manifesting is knowing that you're going to do it. Not needing it to happen, knowing it will happen, feeling it's happening, and then making the next sort of connection possible so that that manifestation or that synchronicity can happen even a little bit faster. One of the things that you can do is approach every single day as a new opportunity and an adventure, unburdened or untethered by the day before. In fact, you could say it is lifted up by the lessons of the day before. Never see the past as an anchor or some sort of a detriment to your present. It made you who you are. You're tuning in today because of every experience that you've had prior to this. Even if you burned breakfast or stubbed your toe or, whatever happened this morning, everything led you here. So it was divinely decreed and welcome, and be grateful for that. So just sort of say, okay, thank you. I don't want to have that kind of lesson again, but I'm glad it happened because now I'm stronger. Okay. Lean into grace and gratitude. You'll shine even when you are challenged. It's like grace under fire, right? And then this is what I was just talking about, gratitude for the challenging things. One of those was a few years back, probably 3 years ago, but I was overworked and I was wishing for a couple of things. I wanted to sort of have more ability to kind of use my third eye, and I needed a break. So I ended up tripping and falling and hitting myself on the head. It actually opened up my third eye. Don't recommend that. And then I had to take some time off. I had to take a few weeks off. But I was like, wow, I'm pretty good at manifesting, and I better be careful about how I state my wishes, because the universe said, all right, you're not being very sort of structured in how you're doing this. So in retrospect, I'm grateful for that wake-up call. That was really the universe kind of shaking me a bit, saying, just be careful what you wish for. It can and will come into fruition. When you speak it and think it, you're bringing it into action. So try to speak and think in higher terms, and not immediate gratification, and not sort of like ambiguous either. So don't be ambiguous, don't be hasty, be specific, be patient, and trust and know yourself. And then look at everything and think, all right, that wasn't what I really thought it would be, but I'm grateful now and I'm going to move on. And don't blame yourself, don't blame the universe. Assume the best until proven otherwise. Help others see their best potential. So this isn't about having sort of like, Two of Swords or Eight of Swords blinders on. This is really more about projecting Two of Wands and High Priestess energy towards somebody. So if you see, this is especially true of children. If there's whether it's niece, nephew, son, daughter, or just someone that you're charged with kind of helping or mentoring, if you can see potential, treat them as if they are that person already, not as if they are the person that's having the challenges that they're experiencing. Because when you treat them as the future self, that's a much better way for me to put that. So when I summarize it, I'll try to do that. Treat someone as who you know they can be rather than who they are, so that they can step into that. So especially when coaching and when assisting people to get past things. Because when you say someone is, when you can see the good in them, say, you're such a good kid. Maybe they've never heard that before. Maybe they've only heard you're dumb, you're stupid, you're bad. When they hear you're a good kid and I'm so happy that I got to meet you, the light bulb turns on, and all of a sudden they think I must be a good kid. They said I was. And then they find a way to kind of grow. Adults need the same thing. So, we're all just grown up kids, aren't we? So if you see someone in your life, you could just say, you know what, you have a really great energy. I think you're going to do great things. Maybe they've never heard that. Maybe they've only heard things that are bad, or they've been down on themselves. So you could just say, you shouldn't be so down on yourself because you're holding yourself back from your potential. Now, I do want to kind of make a fine line here. I've had people in my life before that say their truth to me, and I want you to listen to it. If someone says their truth, it's not just sort of like, oh, I'm not sure of myself. If they say I'm a bad person, you might want to listen to that, Because in my history, when people say I'm bad or you're too good for me, then maybe you are. Then what I would do if someone says that, they don't feel like they're good enough for you, say, well, you should work on yourself. Come back to me when you feel like you're at the same level. I like to listen to people. So I thought we were equal, and I thought I can see a lot of potential with you, but I can't balance that out in you. So yeah, I'm going to listen to you. I'm going to trust you. And I hope that I want to encourage you to do the work. So I'm here when you're ready. And that's a way that you can kind of let someone know, wow, they're listening to me. And what am I saying? What am I doing? What do I want to do? Never try to convince someone there's something that they're not. I mean, you can just kind of show them the potential. You shouldn't force them into that. And you shouldn't discount an honest revelation that they're trying to share, especially if someone wants to reveal something about themselves. So this is important if you have a kid and they say something like, if they're coming out and they want to talk about sexuality or gender identity, you don't want to say, no, you're not. You want to say, how does that make you feel? And I love you. I'm happy. If you're happy, I'm happy. So you do want to hold space. You never want to kind of block off something. So when I say you're kind of seeing someone as someone that they can be, it's not someone as you want them to be. It's sort of like if they can't see their potential. This is more about sort of the ability for someone to grow. If they're revealing who they are, you always want to honor that and meet them at that level and say, okay, thanks for sharing. I think that's the best thing. Thank you for being open enough to share that part of yourself. How can I help you with this? Especially if someone's going through a rough time and they think that they're just a mess. Say, do you need some help? Let's get some resources. Let's get some help. So you definitely don't want to gloss over things. But when I think of kids that haven't been supported or people in their life that haven't been supported, I think a little bit of support and a little bit of a opening up the curtain and helping them see the possibility, that part is really powerful. But there's a lot of different facets to that. You definitely want to observe what people are revealing, help them see their own potential, give them a chance to grow, and then step back. We don't want to be like the king or the queen of wands reverse, which is trying to boss someone around. You're just giving them, you're really like an unseen figure in the two of wands, giving them the crystal ball and saying, or the world, look at you, where do you want to go? What can you do, right? So there we go. All right, next piece, make yourself a priority. Oh, actually one more before this. Talking about believing. So if you never had that support in your past, I want you to believe in your own capacity for growth, change, recognition, and abundance. That's a lot. So you might want to kind of take each piece of these and focus on it. Say, I'm ready to do the work to grow. I'm capable of changing. I'm really ready to be recognized and supported, and I'm open to abundance in all forms, in love, in opportunity, in actual money, and all of these things. So believe that you're ready for it. Say it. That can be part of your daily mantra. You can pick one of those each day and say it. I'm ready to grow. I'm ready to change. I'm ready for recognition. I'm ready for abundance. And focus on how you want to connect with those words. All right. If you are someone who plays the role of supporter, and who in Libra hasn't had to do that, right? Because people come to Libra all the time with problems, with ideas, with passion, with everything, because you can listen, because you can balance, because you're Libra. And so I want you to make yourself a priority, especially if you're the one that's the glue in everybody else's relationship, right? You're the one that makes it better. You're the one that dusts things off, polishes everything off. Because how many times, Libra, have you felt after you've listened to someone that it's just sort of like, oh gosh, I'm tired now. Who's there for me? So I want you to be there for yourself. And as we were talking about earlier, those boundaries, it's not just family, it's friends, it's coworkers, it's everything. Reciprocity needs to happen here. So I did this the other day. Someone who comes to me a lot, I said, you said I can always call on you. I need some advice. They were really happy, actually, that I did that. And it's something I don't do very often because I'm usually used to just being there for others or giving advice. And I thought, no, I need some feedback on this. I'm kind of stressed out. So it felt good to ask. It felt good to receive. And it equaled out the balance between the relationship. And I feel like the relationship's healthier now. So ask for help, lean on other people, and say sometimes, I can't talk tonight. I need to sleep. I'm tired, etc. So all of those things are important for you, right? Set a goal and make it stick. You owe it to yourself and others. You will succeed. And because you are amazing, right? Libra's like the magician, even though justice is what represents the sign. It's basically capable of doing a little bit of everything. And it can do any one thing that it focuses on very, very well if it focuses and it gives itself time and energy and the balance. So sometimes you got to take the scales and put yourself first and focus on you. If you are a mom, a dad, a nurse, a teacher, a therapist, a moderator, whomever, sometimes it is about you. You've got to work on yourself and take that day, take that time to make sure that you're okay. Because when you get into that better space, then you can better be a supporter, a cheerleader, a mentor. You can't give all the time. The battery does need to be recharged, just like my phone is sitting on Do Not Disturb and it's in the cradle. Charging, you have to do the same thing for your own body and your own soul. Okay, and then this one's really important. Actually, there's two things here. Yes, there's two things here. I want to talk a little. I'm trying to end on a really powerful one, powerful note on all of the readings this month. So I was originally saying, like, I was thinking about picking an end point or whatever, and then my guides were reminding me there is no end. There's just new beginnings. And I liked that. And so we're going to kind of focus on that. So sometimes we hold on to things like the Four of Pentacles, holding this sense of, I'm afraid I might not have more. So I'm going to stay in this relationship. I'm going to stay in school. I'm going to do another degree. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. We stay put, the Hanged Man too. And we hold back because we're afraid. So when something ends, then a new cycle begins and new things are possible. And if you are constantly holding, then you're never growing, then you're never exploring, then you never have those butterflies that I was talking about. So I want you to think, and butterflies to me are, some people say, oh, I don't like that, that's a bad sign. It's just symbolic for me. Kind of if I get a little bit nervous in a good way, that tells me I have something, I have something at stake. I'm invested in it, I want it, I desire, I'm connected to it, I care. So I want you to think about the fun butterflies when you meet someone for the first time, your first day of school, first day at a new job, first day in a new apartment, first time doing something that you didn't think you could do and successfully accomplishing it. When you have that moment of, oh my gosh, this is happening, you're alive, right? If it's easy, you're not being pushed, you're not exploring, and you're not having that sort of rush. So I want you to kind of focus on the excitement of change and the fact that the end is a start. And just like I named the character Death in my book, like, the one that stands at the nexus of ends and beginnings, that's kind of what transformation is. So in effect, what I'm saying, Libra, is you're on the precipice of transformation. The transformation could be internal. It could be transforming where you live, what you're doing for a living. There's something that needs to shift in this next 3-month cycle for you. And we're doing it at a really good time because we're right on the heels of the equinox. It's either spring or fall, depending on where you're at. So really good time to start or release, or both, because really we can access both energies of the planet. So I thought that was a good note to end on. So let me stack everything up here, and we're going to get into the Celtic Cross here. And as I do that, I just want to remind you that I like to remain quiet when I pull up all the cards. The messages that I'm pulling here could resonate right now. They could also take up to 6 weeks because I'm reading for April. But depending on where you are in your ability to manifest and sort of go into the energy, it may be worth listening again later next month as well if you feel like some of it might be a little bit too ahead for you. So just listen. I treat this kind of as an outline or some Cliff's notes that give you an idea of what's ahead, and you still have to kind of read through things and do it on your own, right? So anyway, welcome everyone. And let's take a look at the cards here. I'm going to grab a drink of water before I shuffle this because I forgot to grab that. So let me do that and we'll get started. All right. Thank you for letting me do that because I'm going to need to drink here in just a second. Thanks again for all of the super chats and applause, and for my patrons and channel members. This is one of the new decks that I got. And I'm using it a few times this month just because I really like it. Little Prince, based on the book as well. There you are, Libra. The little fox in this deck reminds me of Apollo, who's sitting in the background there. All right, let's get into the reading. Okay, thanks for giving me a moment to set everything up. And let's talk about your catalyst first. So we have the daffodil or narcissus. And by the way, I had someone, I talked about narcissus before, I think in Spirit Totem or something. And I was talking about that being the Greek name or Latin name. And someone was like, it's a different flower. I know there is a narcissus, but that actually is the Latin name for it too. It's interesting because we'll talk about that. Rebirth and new beginnings. Amen. That's exactly what we were talking about. You know, on some, I think in Rider-Waite-Smith, depends on which version you're using, but there's a daffodil on the temperance card, I believe, or sometimes like an iris or a daffodil. There's some spring bulbs on it. So I usually associate temperance with April. And also this to me is coming through very strong for those of us in Northern Hemisphere as like now. You start to see daffodils coming up around this time of the year. So what a great card to come through for this period of time. This could also be part of like, you know, Easter, right? So, and I look at rebirth and the ability to create something new as that period of time. So perfectly timed and perfectly beautiful. Another totem basically coming through for you here, the daffodil or narcissus. It says new beginnings are often disguised as painful endings. So exactly what I said in my channeled message. Ends and beginnings, don't get them mixed up. It's all the same. So if you don't like how something ended, look forward to how something new can start and take its place. The narcissus piece here is really important because you want to kind of go into the mythology of Narcissus, who did fall in love with his own reflection. And one of the things here is to not sort of lose sight of who you are and not to sort of also look at other people's projections of who they want you to be. So there's something about the projection or the reflection that could be off. And this is what I was talking about, seeing potential. And if there's someone in your life that is incapable of empathy or is not doing the work, narcissistic in other words, this is something where to some degree you can't change that until they're ready to change or to look at stuff. A lot of times with people who tend to focus more on themselves, they have a hard time taking accountability. They have a hard time understanding where you're at. They talk a lot about themselves. So if there's anyone in your life that's kind of filling that particular role, this would be a time for you to step back and reinvest energy, again, into yourself, into other things, to start over, to start anew. No matter what, if you've reached a dead end, the daffodil comes up after the winter time saying it's time to grow again, it's time to try again, dust yourself off and give this a shot one more time. So I really like that flower. I really like the message. And I think there's also a warning there for people around you that are not coming through in the way that they want to. I see that we got the 5 of Swords, but I always see the 7 of Swords as a sister card to that. So I would say there could be someone that's just not accountable right now. And if they can't come through and be accountable, then this is a good time to step back and focus in different places. All right, let's go to the center card. And I adore this particular illustration here. We have the star. Beautiful, delicate sort of star energy in this one. And then we have that reflective pool, which we were just talking about, which is part of the myth of Narcissus. So I want you to see your potential, believe in your potential, and then also go a little bit higher. The star is really a higher calling. And one of the things that's missing from this, even though I love this illustration, is the openness. So typically, I talk about this in tarot. You know, you look at the World card and the star. I think both of those, sometimes temperance, they have nudity, and the Lovers. The nudity is not salacious. It's actually coming through because it's showing that there's nothing to be ashamed of. There's nothing to hide. It's the divine form of something, just like you would see Roman or Greek statues. Gods are typically naked. Yes, the Greeks and Roman enjoyed a good nude body, but it was also because they were celebrating that sort of divinity. So what I would say with the star card is be open, be yourself, express yourself, and don't have any sort of artifice over it. And that's one of the things with the star. I like that it's upright. It feels like it's your time to stand out, to stand up, and to be transparently yourself. You're going to find support and friendship in unexpected places. We have the little fox and the snake here. So that's also a sign of power in totems and in tarot. Geckos and snakes and things like that, lizards. To me, that's like the fire within. This is another symbol of fire because it's the sun, it's the star. So it's another sort of, it's not the sun, it's the star. The sun is a star is what I wanted to say. So I want you to find your inner fire, your inner passion, be yourself. Don't worry about editing. Don't worry about muting it. And the people that are supposed to be there will be there, even if, like I said before, it's the quality over the amount, over the quantity. It's better to have a couple people that you can rely on than a bunch of people that are fair weather friends. And that was something that I was kind of picking up on in my dreams and meditations this morning, was that there could be some people revealing themselves as not really there for the long haul. Again, it's a blessing. The Three of Swords is aligned with the message of ends and beginnings. This is the most beautiful Three of Swords. It's come up a lot when I've used this deck. So far, I've pulled it a few times, but I like it. What I see this is in this card is the ability to flourish, to persevere, and to find a way to kind of come back even after, or especially because of the tumults, the pain, the suffering in your life. It makes you stronger. It makes you more beautiful, and it doesn't stop your ability to bloom, to flourish, to grow. So sometimes have you ever noticed in your life that people that have been through a little bit more tend to be more forgiving, tend to be more understanding, tend to be more appreciative? Sometimes the people that have had a really easy go in life are more entitled, are less sort of sensitive. It's not always the case. It really depends on their own energy and their own situation. But I've noticed that difficulty can usually bring a stronger character out. So look at your difficulty in your life and think like that made me stronger. And I'm gonna bloom again. I'm gonna have I imagine eventually this rose bush would just cover up all the swords and grow around it, right? And that's kind of what we do in life. We grow around our wounds, and someday you don't notice them, they fade. Something more beautiful takes its place, I should say. So the other thing here is we look at the combination of this. This is your soul path. This is your true self. This is disappointment, but then growth. There may be something that happens when you reveal who you are, you lose something or someone. But isn't it always worth fighting for who you are, what you stand for? The answer is yes, but it's tough to go through it. So there's a sacrifice necessary to accomplish the star. And it could be difficult sometimes. It's a trade-off. So if you've got nothing to lose, you've got nothing to gain. And sometimes that opportunity cost is totally worth it, because there's something much better on the other end of the rainbow, there was a card the other day showing the rainbow bridge or whatever. At the other end, there's something beautiful. Some of the stuff that you have to work through, you do have a few swords at the beginning. Everything else looks really good. So I think the main thing at the center here is knowing who you are and being willing to sacrifice to accomplish that vision of yourself. And as we look at deep past, things that could have been affecting you recently, we have the Five of Swords. Sometimes you can't win. The Five of Swords is an argument that's not worth fighting sometimes. So if there's a family member or a friend and they're not receptive to common sense or feedback, or there's certain things that you talk about and they just sort of shut down, this card is reminding you it may not be worth going down that road with them. It also is a chance for you to kind of cut losses. So if you've been through something and you can kind of do a correction at the midpoint, it's sort of like, okay, do I need to keep doing this? Why am I doing this? You can even stop yourself mid-conversation and think, you know what? We're good. This is fine. Go for it. So instead of trying to prove something, let someone have their point of view and then just go your separate way. And I think really this is about not getting yourself too much in other people's business and not worrying about that. And also realizing that sometimes people that are supposed to be there for you are not paying attention. They're not present. And this is when you have to either pull them into the discussion, really get the decision makers there, or just kind of like get out of that energy. All right, you showed up, which is great. We have the King of Swords. Love that it's the highest in the suit. So this is in the recent past. It tells me that you've done the work required to open up the portal that is showing up as the star in the center. The card is upright. There's nothing negative about it. I would say the main thing with the King of Swords is really choose your words wisely, because they're going to have a powerful effect, but the card is upright. So I see a beneficial impact with whatever you say and do this month. For those of you that are lawyers, writers, or doctors, this card can definitely be attached to success and growth in that sort of field. But for the rest of us, it's really just about making sure that your point of view is heard, and that you are doing something actively to make things happen this month. The only thing that I would say with king cards versus queen, or especially knights, they start to get more and more passive as they go up the chain, because a king doesn't typically get out in the field that much. So the one thing that you can do is make sure that you're not just speaking, but you're also doing, right? But this is a powerful card for you. It is just as if I'd gotten justice, I'm very happy to see the King of Swords there. That's you. And then we have the Knight of Swords. And the interesting thing here for some of you, this could be a parent-child kind of relationship. It could be a mentorship. If you are in a love relationship this month, there's a bit of a difference, a delta between experience or maturity. And one of you is a little bit more hasty, and the other one is a little bit more sort of thoughtful or stoic. And I think the key here is trying to find a balance. I guess I'm more okay with this than if it were Knight and a Page, but there is some sort of a maturity difference between the two of you, and that's one of the challenges. So for those of you in relationships or recently coupled, you really want to be looking at making sure that both partners get a chance to be heard, knowing that maybe one person tends to have a louder voice or uses their words differently. So even if someone's less articulate or doesn't speak up as much, it doesn't make their feedback any less important. And there needs to be equity with that. So there's a little bit of a balance there. If you're single and happy, I love the Knight of Swords. We can look at it on its own, and we can also look at it on its own just for everybody. This is about taking action. So don't be afraid to go after something that you want. Be the initiator with this. The king would have been a lot more passive, and it would be sort of like, come to me, or talk to my aide, or in the olden days, like kiss my ring and, bow before me. The knight's like, no, I'm going to move forward. I'm going to do what I want to do. And I think there's a value to that, not to be afraid to sort of go that extra mile and to show the interest. So for those of you that might be interviewing for jobs, for those of you that might be in a sort of an initial, whether it's a partnership or dating, this is really about talking and not waiting for the other person to call you. And I think just putting that extra effort in, right? I think that's the important piece that's coming through for this. The other thing with Knight of Swords, it could be things are going to happen fast. So when knights start to show up, you see rapid movement. So if you've been, sort of stagnating for a while, if things have felt like you were dragging your feet, you've been stuck in that hanged man or hermit phase for a while, which might be the case because the hermit leads into the star. You have to discover who you are, but usually that comes after a period of discovery and isolation. Then good, now's the time to really see a breakout moment for you, Libra, which I'm excited to see. We have a success card in the near future. What a nice one to come through. So we have the Six of Wands here. And I love that, Eight of Wands is sometimes seen as a travel card, but the Six of Wands can be movement and success. And this has a little bit of a travel energy to it. I think if I was illustrating it, I might have put that on the Eight of Wands instead, but I like what I see here. And if we look a little closer, you see the tools that this person has. You have all the tools necessary for success. That success will happen quicker than you think. And the thing that I love the most about the Six of Wands is other people are not present. So often there is a sense of like pressure or obligation that's intrinsic to the Six of Wands. This one is more about doing what matters and using your own sort of words and vision and tools to make it happen. And I think he's holding some of the wands here. So magic, it's basically, this can be a very magical moment for you. And this can also show the next half of the year. This could be up to 6 months where there's some really rapid growth and change happening for you. The one thing I would still kind of say this, with the Six of Wands, don't feel pressured and don't be forced into doing something that doesn't feel right. There's always sort of a group component to it, even if it's missing. Focus on yourself and envision the success, and the rest will start to happen. All right. So I really like it. There's really nothing negative to say about that. Let's go on to the next card. Really nice Ace of Cups. So we have all the little butterflies, and I think we have a few caterpillars. It depends on what part of the stage you're in. But notice now how that rose is wrapped around this chalice, this cup. And this can represent so many things here. A change of heart, right? Because literally we see the metamorphosis happen here. So for some of you, you might be experiencing a bit of a change of heart this month. Maybe you are ready to try a relationship again. Like if you've gotten out of a relationship or divorce, because we had the Three of Swords at the center, you're opening up to new opportunities. If you're in love, maybe there's been a challenging point that the two of you have been through, and there's a change of heart. You're able now to kind of find a way to come back into happiness again here, because this is the way these two can kind of be connected. For the rest of you, this is basically showing positive development coming from the heart space. So creative, this sort of like, if you see yourself as a channel, your heart's coming through in all of these new sort of ideas and inspiration. It wants to kind of like open up. So I want you to feel free to do something if it feels right. If you are inspired to go back to school, to try some sort of a project, to do something that other people would kind of furrow their brow and say, that doesn't make sense, or why do you want to do it? If your heart says to do it, you really want to go into that space, because so much positivity could come out of that. So follow your heart, essentially, is what the Ace of Cups is saying. If you're looking for love, this is great. And it can mean love after loss, basically, if we put these two cards together and see the two different states of the rose. So I like that a lot. Okay. One other thing with the rose, you can cut it back and it can grow again. And so that's why I like this metaphor. There's always renewal. There's always regrowth. And that's one of the themes that I picked up on. And so we saw this in the catalyst too, rebirth and new beginnings. So yes, I like that. With a rose, I always like to mention that there are pieces that you have to, like, it's not all beautiful. So roses and thorns, and making sure that you love yourself, all parts of yourself, and allow other people to see what they want to see. Because I look at a rose and usually the first thing you see is the blossom. So don't call attention to the thorns. Focus on working on the thorns and all of that. But we all have thorns. We all have things that we're trying to deal with. Let people see the beautiful, lush green leaves. Let them see the flower. And this is going to be important for you when you are dating, trying to get a job, trying to put your best foot forward. Don't highlight all the negatives. And maybe eventually the negatives will just go away because they're projections. So get rid of those projected thorns in your life and focus on the rose, right? Okay. We have the Chariot here in the environment, control issues. So for some of you, I like that the Chariot's in the upright position. I would say it's really important for you this month to have a seat at the table, to know where you're going, to make sure that you're telling, I like this illustration where you see the birds kind of taking them up in the air, but make sure that you have some sort of input on direction. Your direction, the direction of something that you're working on, that there's balance in this equation. And this Chariot is pulled by a flock of birds, not just two animals or one animal. So one of your challenges this month will probably be getting group consensus. Once that happens, once you can get collective buy-in for something, whether it's in your family or at a place of work or somewhere else, if you're trying to make a change in the world and you're trying to do something with politics or changing policy somewhere, you've got to get that grassroots energy behind it, and then everything's just going to happen quickly. So you have the capacity to do that, and then it should be sort of easy going after that. But it is about using your communication skills, which leads into the next one here, the Ace of Swords in reverse. Now with this one, we have to talk about the fox. I love foxes, I love wolves, I love dogs, but a fox is something you want to kind of pay attention to, just like the wolf. Sometimes they can be sneaky. Sometimes they can appear as something that they don't, that they aren't. So with people in your life, I want you to kind of cut through any of the artifice and really make sure that you ask the tough questions. I like that this particular ace card shows the potential of the king right there. We have the crown there. So whether or not you're in that authority figure role, you have the authority to ask a question. So don't be afraid to speak up. Don't be afraid to share your idea, and don't be afraid to take the necessary action to do something. This is really about taking that sword and moving forward, becoming the knight. So we have the requisite tools and all that you need to sort of be successful, but you have to use your voice. You have to make that stand, and you might have to speak out of turn, and it may not be popular, but it might be right. So if it feels right and you have the data and everything to back something up, then this is your moment to shine. And that's what we have to kind of keep reminding ourselves as we look at the center. This is your moment to shine. Okay. I really like what we have here in the outcome. It's the Eight of Pentacles. The card is reversed, but it's a reminder that there should be a return on energy, right? So I'm looking at, there's even like a little, I'm trying to think what this is on the ground here. Oh, I think he's taking a start of the rose here. So this is what I was talking about. Like sometimes the ends are beginnings. You can take cuttings, like propagate different plants. So this can be a chance for you to start again, or even take something that you've learned before and propagate and begin again. The Eight of Pentacles does require nurturing. And I think part of the reason that this card, I think it was reversed here, is just you have to make sure that you're ready for that investment. So if you want something to happen, decide that you want it, believe that it's possible, and keep putting the work in, keep nurturing the plant, keep like this. So put some time and energy into it, right? And over time, you're going to see growth and movement. All right. Let's move on to by the way, the Eight of Pentacles can also be a chance for you to go back to school, to invest in yourself, to basically take something, revise it, and get it ready for a delivery. It's a card of apprenticeship that leads to Three of Pentacles, which is mastery. So really make a decision to make something happen. This is your moment to sort of see a vision through to completion, even if, or especially if in the past, for some reason, it didn't happen. Okay. Let's move along to the expanded forecast here, starting with health. I look at health as multi-part. It is mind, body, and spirit. It's also really more emotional when I look at it here in this card, and then we'll go into the body when I look at the Celtic Cross. So we have a reverse card here. It's ascension is the key word in this one, and it says move into your true self. This is the star card that we saw at the center. It says rise above the darkness. The light is in there, the light is here. Sorry. So I want you to shine, especially if you're in a place where people are not wanting or ready for that. So if this is a time on the planet where we need more light, where we need more inspiration, we're starting to see some of that breaking through. But especially during challenging times, that's when your voice matters the most. So shine brighter, shine more, and keep shining until you either break through or maybe break out of that cycle. So if it's a relationship or a job, this may be a moment where part of ascension is stepping up or stepping away from something. So I think that you'll have to kind of like balance that out and figure out if this is what you should be doing, if this is what you want. But ascension's great, by the way. So focus on what you're receiving. I talked earlier about instinct. I talked about how this could be an important time for you to kind of like focus on feeling out a situation or feeling out a moment. Exactly what this is saying here. Let's go into the actual health messages that are also coming through. How are you feeling? Three of Swords is definitely a card that can show sensitivity, heightened sensitivity after something difficult, a loss, a breakup, a divorce, being laid off. So for many of you, you've had to pull back from something, and that's left you feeling a little bit emotionally raw. So the important thing in this moment is to really allow for yourself to heal and to rebound. The other thing that I am looking at here, let's see. Yeah, and that's coming through with this as well. I do believe that there is a moment to heal after that, though. So I think it's important to remember that, you know, grieving over something or being sad about something, everybody faces that differently. Some people, it's very fast. Some people, it's delayed. Some people, it lasts for a while. Get the help that you need if you want to. We see a lot of cards about communication. The King of Swords, the Knight of Swords, and the Ace of Swords. So talk it out. The Ace of Swords is very direct. And so if there's someone or something that doesn't make you feel good, or if there's something going on in your body and it doesn't feel right, this is a time for you to speak up and either get the attention that you need or the help that you need, or stop something environmentally if it's going on that's not right, especially if there's people that are kind of acting a fool or doing something that they shouldn't do. Okay. Let's see if there's anything else. For the other thing that I see for health is if you decide to make an effort at making something happen, you should start to see some sort of movement on it. So the Eight of Pentacles is return on investment. So get behind what you want to make a change on in your life, and you should be okay. Here's the good news: no major problems popped up. The Three of Swords can show some issues with hypertension, sadness, anything with blood pressure, blood cholesterol, or blood in general. So just take care of your body and focus on heart health. And if there is something in your family that requires extra supervision in that respect, then obviously talk to your doctor and monitor it. But for the rest of us, it's really more of an emotional message that's coming through for that. Okay, let's take a look now at your wealth card. We just looked at health. This one was also reversed. It says take action with passion. We've got another knight here, valiant courage. So for some of you making the change that's necessary, it's hard because you might be the one that's going to have to speak up. When I was, if I go back to the dream that I had earlier, when I saw people doing something that they shouldn't, we could kind of leave it at that, whether or not they were saying it about you or someone else. I felt like there was an understanding that they shouldn't do that. And so one of the things that you could go over is just say, you shouldn't say that. Don't say that. Or if you say that again, I'm going to have to, talk to somebody. So stop it when it kind of like, I talk about the rose sometimes, prune. This is a chance for you to kind of prune out some of that behavior and say it and believe it and kind of maybe make them a little bit nervous about that. Say, I don't agree with that. This is specifically if they're saying something negative about someone else, if they're doing something against policy, if they are somehow trying to thwart or pull back progress. Not just because you don't agree on a sort of like opinion-based level with them, but if they're legitimately doing something harmful or malicious, you've got to stand up. And that's what that card is saying. The other thing with the action card is if you want to do it, you might have to do it yourself. So if you're looking to create something or release something or produce something, maybe you're going to open an Etsy store. Maybe you're going to self-publish. Maybe you're going to start your own business and employ yourself instead of working for someone else. The entrepreneurial energy is coming through with this card as well. So sometimes you are the best conduit to make something happen. Other messages for wealth. I'm really happy that we have the Eight of Pentacles. I see growth and development. So just continue to do good work, continue to invest in yourself, and you should start to see some positive traction there. Now, if you're in a place where it just doesn't feel right, the Ascension card is also saying, go higher, get out, move beyond that. Some of you may have something really cool to say, and the Eight of Pentacles can actually be a curriculum. It can be a sort of like a product line. So maybe if you're into cosmetics or something, it would be like releasing some sort of a line. For the rest of you, it would be sort of creating something that people would want to mass produce or would be interested in. You would want to normally combine this with the World card or the maybe the Eight of Wands, but I see here that some of you already have the connections necessary to make that happen. So for the entrepreneurial types, I'm seeing some good stuff. One of the things that's important is, would you put your name on it? The Star card is knowing, it's you being out there. It's a kind of a celebrity card. So would you back something with your name? The other thing in general, when we're looking at work, and this is important, everything that you do is a reflection on you. So if you don't like your job, you still, if you're in a contract, you owe it to the employer to show up and do a good job. You don't have to go overboard, but you shouldn't go under either. You shouldn't clock it in. So I would say always put your best foot forward, because at the end of your life, when you're looking back, it's a reflection on you. And also when you try to find work in the future, it's a reflection on you. So appearances do matter in that sort of respect. So do your best always. And if you can't be your best, if you can't be yourself, then get out of that situation. The good news is success is kind of ripe for the taking this month with the Six of Wands and the Eight of Pentacles. So you don't have to stay somewhere if it's not supporting you. I just want to see growth. It feels like for some of you that you have to push through something. So I'm encouraging you to push through. All right. When you do decide to put your name on something, success usually follows. Again, even if it's symbolically, if you feel good enough to raise your hand at a meeting, if you feel good enough to put your name on a comment, if you feel good enough to speak up, just attach yourself to it. That shows conviction, that shows passion. I then want to listen to what you have to say because you put yourself on the line, right? So true success usually requires that step of, all right, whatever this is going to be, it's my name and I'm doing it, right? Okay. Good messages overall with wealth. By the way, there could be a delivery of good news coming through. So if you've been waiting to hear back from like a job interview or something, the Knight of Wands is good. We have the Knight of Wands and the Six of Wands. So that's good news, literally. I like it. I have the Ace of Cups, something to celebrate. So I feel like there's some positive movement when it comes to career. But also following your heart is going to be the most important. All right, let's move on to love and relationships. I see love and relationships not just as sexual or sensual, but it's also sort of your friends, your family, just relationships and partnerships across the board. We have rings of time here, which kind of would be I would normally associate with a tree. The card was reversed, but let's look at it upright. And you can kind of see a person. It's almost like they're thinking and wondering what's going on here. For many of us, we can sometimes get lost in someone's history or lost in someone's energy. And what I think is important for you to look at is, how did you get to this point, especially if you're in a relationship? What's the history of you, the two of you? If you were to, I think if you were like to cut a tree and look at all the rings, if you've ever done that, if you've ever looked at something in a museum and you can see the years where they mark a drought or there's a fire or there was a flood, you can look at the different rates of growth that the tree has based on the rings, because it shows how much it was able to produce outward. So look at the rings of your relationship. Are you growing? Are you starving? Have you made it through some tough stuff? Is that enough? And kind of evaluate it. It's a little bit of a review, if you will, like a little mini life review. The relationship could be the work relationship. It could be a love relationship. It could also be one of those family bonds that we were talking about. And think, where do I stand? How much do I want to invest? And have I learned what I set out to learn? Because once you've accomplished the sole goal that you had with somebody, you're untethered, you're free to decide, do I want to stay with them? Or is it time to just kind of go my own way? So do a little bit of an audit here. Let's look at the cards themselves. Like I said, one of the key things here, if we look at this in its past position and this in the crowning position, for many of you, you should be here, but you're here. So this is actually not only in, I see this happen a lot. It's not only in relationships, but it's in work. I feel like some of you aren't being recognized. So if you're not being recognized, then it's time to speak up. It's time to be the noisy knight. Basically raise that sword a little bit and say, hey, I'm actually not happy with what's going on. And I'm actually this energy. So it's time that we start focusing on growth and movement. Why is it not happening? What do I need to do? And expect that growth to happen within this year. If you don't start to see something happen, then you should move on. You'll be successful in moving on. There is a big encouragement, either grow or go. That's my bumper sticker statement for the day. Grow where you're at or go somewhere else, right? Because that's what we're here to do. We shouldn't be stagnating. And it feels like it's your time to do that. We have another star card, as if it wasn't enough to have one. We have the stargazer in your destiny. And this is you. This is you as a star child. This is you looking. I talk in the book about Gabriel, who is a star child, gazing through the telescope, looking at the stars, trying to find a connection to who he is. We are all doing that in our lifetime, right? We are all the stargazer. We're on this physical existence, but sometimes we look up and think there's got to be something more. There is something more. And as you start to kind of tap in and believe in yourself, you're going to be able to tap into that star energy that you have. So it says, set your sights higher. That's so powerful. I've been talking about that. I just talked the past couple readings about that. When manifesting, never, okay, so this was in the Cancer reading, but it's been coming up so much this month. It's going to be in the collective on the 28th as well. I had a metaphor of the blank check, and this is a different way of saying it. This is the blank check. This is the cosmic energy around this star being, if you will. We have the potential to tap into something better. We limit ourselves by ageism, genderism, all these different phobias over religion, race, sex, all of it. It doesn't make any sense. So don't limit yourself, even though society is wanting to impose these limits. Push higher and say, no, I can do it. I'm going to do it. And I'm not going to stop trying as long as there's, breath in my lungs and blood in my veins. So push higher, and you're going to surprise yourself by the capacity that you have. That's the blank check that the universe is writing to you. It's saying, like, here, what do you want? Go for it. You showed up. Are you going to show up and do something? Then do it. So there's a little bit of a push from the universe saying, you've got to go higher. But part of that means put in the work. It reminds me of that scene in Fame, or was it Debbie Allen or whatever. She's kind of taking her wand, if you will, and she's saying, this is where you invest in like blood and sweat and all that. This is where the work happens. So the Eight of Pentacles is saying, if you want fame, if you want the star, if you want to kind of go to the next level, then you better show up, you better do the work, and you better set that goal really, really high and go for it. Have fun at it too. Should be, here's the thing, it's experiential, it's explorative, it's fun, it is something that is inspiring, and it can make people around you think, wow, I can't believe you did it. I'm also talking a lot, so I'm gonna review everything to make sure that I can get to the soul path, and there's just a lot to come through for your sign today, okay? So we'll do a quicker review than usual so I can make sure that I can get to the next point. This is only supposed to be brief anyway, so I will do my best. Your spirit totem today is the wolf. The message from the wolf is to listen to your instincts. Feel it out on an, not just an emotional level, but I would say on a spiritual and on a energetic level. You'll know if something is the right thing to do when you are in the presence of it. Focus on healing and setting boundaries, I would say, not only in family relationships, but also core relationships across the board. Reciprocity is definitely key. You should be looking at loyalty this month. I think that there will be some tests and some revelations with key relationships as well. This is actually a blessing because you're going to know who you can count on and where you're going to be able to invest your time and energy. So for some of you, a person will step up. For some, someone may disappoint, but like I said, it's going to help you understand, can I count on you or can I not? The good news, I missed that card, but like I said, either way, it's a blessing. You have this lone wolf energy basically coming through at certain points this month, which is challenging you and showing you that you can do it on your own. You don't have to have the whole group there. So there's going to be moments where you step in and out of that collective. And I was actually talking to Virgo a little bit about this as well. This actually helps you see that you are self-reliant, that you are capable, that you have that entrepreneurial energy if you want to engage in that, if it's there for the taking. You can also, if you felt disappointed with family, particularly blood relatives, you can pull in a chosen family, people that truly step up and show up the way that you want them to. And sometimes, even if you're in a really tricky situation, that family can emerge because you kind of make what I call a fast friend, someone that you have to get along with because you kind of rely on them for survival. So whether you're working a long shift at a restaurant or you're crunching for an exam at college, or there's something crazy going on and you just feel like you really need someone, whoever is around you sometimes ends up being that chosen family too. These types of bonds can often last a lifetime, and you might be reconnecting with a karmic partner. The star card, sometimes Six of Cups, that can be a karmic connection coming through. Just identify the nature of that karmic connection and figure out if it's something that you want to revisit. Defend your dreams, ideas, and point of view. Stand your ground. We were talking about the wolf being able to do all of these things. Explore and embrace the next part, the next phase of your journey. This is your time. This is your moment. That's why the star came through. Rather than chasing down, call in, manifest your dream. It's more powerful. And you can listen to yesterday's reading a little bit about how to sort of meet it at its frequency or at its vibration. See every day as an opportunity and an adventure, unburdened, or I would even say lifted up by the day before. Lean into grace and gratitude. This way you're going to shine like the star, even in a challenging situation. And people are going to remember that you were basically you led yourself with grace and dignity. Assume the best until proven otherwise. This is particularly with kids or with people that haven't had a lot of support. I don't want you to ignore any red flags, but I do want perhaps for you to encourage people to see the possibilities because maybe no one did that for them before. Believe in your own capacity growth and your own capacity for growth, change, recognition, and abundance. This is like super key, even though I put it all on one. You have to believe in order for it to happen. Yesterday, I think we had both the magician and the high priestess energy, but this is what you'd want to focus on: believing, seeing, and doing. Make yourself a priority, especially if you are the glue for everyone else. If you're the one that kind of helps things stick together, make sure that you are sticking to one of your goals, setting something out there in the future and saying, I can do this. There are no ends, there are just beginnings. And the question here the universe is asking you is what's next? I kind of skipped over that initially. Go into your soul purpose. We'll talk maybe more in the collective about that, trying to get you into your soul purpose a little bit more. But in the meantime, remember that, as we saw here with the daffodil or narcissus, basically rebirth, new beginnings. Every beginning comes from an end, often an end that can be challenging, as we saw with this quote here. This is your time to rise up and to shine. Be yourself, be authentic, don't dim your light for anyone. This may mean that some people around you can't sort of be in that light. And that's okay. You're going to attract people that are higher and brighter, and you're going to shine no matter what, even if people don't understand it or fall away, or if there's been some sadness. You still have a lot of life left in you and a lot of bloom to happen here. So I want to see you bloom. Five of Swords, avoid unnecessary conversations and arguments. There are some battles worth fighting. There are some that you should avoid. The King of Swords, speak up. The Knight of Swords, act accordingly. The King of Swords and Knight of Swords in contrast, showing perhaps two different styles of leadership, two different styles of love, two different styles of communication. The question here is, can you blend it? It looks like it's possible, but you have to work through some issues if you're in an existing relationship. For the rest of you, this is about taking action, an active role in your future. Knight of Swords, Six of Wands, Eight of Pentacles, growth and development. And we only got one Pentacle card this month, and it's really a great return card. So you may have to volley around some of your resources and put it into something else, but you'll see a return on it. Six of Wands, eventual success, but it should be success for you, and you should be using all of your tools in the toolkit. Ace of Cups, loving again, change of heart, change through being passionate and connected to your heart. Really, really cool. The Chariot card, taking control, being able to also bring a lot of different people along for the ride, getting a group consensus. Speaking your mind is going to be important. You might have to be the voice of reason this month, and ultimately deciding what it is that you want to invest in and how much time and energy you want to put into that. Because once you do that, some success starts to come through. We have this ascension message here coming through saying, move into your true self, rise above the darkness, the light is there. Indeed it is, because we see that beautiful tiny little star, but the star is there. This is more indicative of how we see stars, so I really like that, that lone star. The other thing with ascension is it does mean kind of stepping into the highest energy. So that grace under fire message that I said, this is where people may not be acting right. You're going to speak up and bring justice in, because this card especially is just like justice. The Queen or King of Swords can be a justice card. You might want to revise a contract, by the way, as we're moving into from health to wealth. I would say really make sure that you in health, you ask the questions that need to be asked, get a second opinion if you need to. For wealth, you want to look at something and revise it to your liking. It's going to be worth it. You'll get more of a return on that. Stepping more into wealth now, we have time to take action. If you want to do something, do it. And it might require work on your part. We have, again, a return on investment. We see success. There is a period of growth after there is some sort of a setback. Ultimately, that message of would you put your name on it is important. It's, do you stand behind who you are and what you're doing? Do you believe in yourself? Now going from wealth into relationships, we were looking at the rings. Are you growing or are you starving in a current partnership? If you're growing, then good. If you're not, then you have to kind of look at that exchange again, at that reciprocity. Finally, set your goals very high. You can do this. You will do this if you believe in it. And that's part of manifesting. All right, so I did that in record time. Hopefully you got all those messages quickly. For those of you that always wish that I could get through it fast, I can, but I have to kind of go through the initial state of going, kind of channeling all these messages. All right, let's go ahead now and take a look at the soul path. I always like to start with the tricky cards. I like a challenge. So let's take a look at the Three of Swords and figure out what is this potential block that's coming through for you. What's causing a pause and maybe making things a little bit more challenging? How can you get past it? How can you grow from this sort of challenge? Four of Cups. Okay, so Four of Cups is really interesting because it's often a hidden blessing, right? So we talked yesterday about this with Virgo, that rejection is the universe's sort of, it's a way that it can nudge you in the right direction. So if you've had a setback, If you've had someone say no, you're getting closer to a path. The Four of Cups is the reveal, and we kind of see the person taking this cloche or this chalice or cup, and then we see the beautiful energy of the rose underneath it. So for you, are you tuning in to all of the opportunities around you? Are you looking, up, down, right, left, within as well? Because this is the hidden blessing, the Four of Cups. There's always something else that you might not be paying attention to. And it's reminding you that before you leave your present vista, before you see if the grass really is greener over there, you make sure that you've looked everywhere and you've explored everything, because then you can leave with a very happy heart, thinking, I tried. This was the best that I could do. And I feel really solid about my decision. So this is just saying explore all directions, dimensions, opportunities, possible ways of thinking. And then when you've done that, move on. But it's also saying that if something didn't work out, something better awaits. But it may require you to reach. In a traditional Rider-Waite-Smith, we see the sort of like grumpy Four of Cups person. They're looking at what's in front of them, and the universe is literally kind of like floating a card there, almost like the ace. And this is what we've got here is the Ace of Cups, that the universe is floating to you. What do you want to do with it? And so this could be new love. It could be new passion. It could be a new opportunity. It could be inspiration. It could be discovery. Whatever it is, it's good. And I would say just decide that you're going to start to look for the silver lining. Okay. Let's open up the next question to be about, it's interesting here with the Six of Wands and the Star card and the Chariot. All right, so when I'm looking at those three, the Star is, again, visibility, integration, could also be sort of being known, definitely accountability. Six of Wands, also a lot of spotlight, a lot of eyes on you. And then the Chariot card is a tug of war. So let's look at power struggles when it comes to success and growth for you. That's a really important question. Page of Wands in reverse. This is interesting. Okay, so let's pull it in the upright position so we can see it. I like that we're looking at the train leaving the station. One of the best pieces of advice I got was from a light worker here in Los Angeles, and he's a healer. But one of the things he was telling me, it was prior to me leaving my job. He said, "When are you going to do it?" Because he kind of knew I didn't have any excuses. I kind of like saved up all of the money that I needed to start a business. There was someone in my life that had passed away. There was a bunch of things that had happened, and I was kind of putting it on hold. And he used a different metaphor. He said it was kind of like a connecting flight. He said it's taking off soon. If you don't do this one, who knows when the next one is? So I see the train getting ready to leave the station. And I think that for some of you, timing is important. And if there are people around you, we were talking about control and looking at the Six of Wands, there may be people that are trying to hold you back from going for this because they don't think you're ready, because they don't think you're deserving, because they don't agree with you. The Page of Wands in this case, the stubbornness is really good. It's sort of like, no, I don't think you're hearing me. You're not listening to me. Pages reverse have problems communicating or interpreting messages. So make sure that your point of view is being heard. And then if you have to stand up for yourself, or if you have to take a hop on that train or that plane, metaphorically speaking, it's important to do so. So I see a time sort of constraint on what your next move is, and it feels like you need to do it soon. So we're looking at, anywhere from 6 to 8 weeks from now. It feels like you need to put some sort of a decision in place. And then probably the most I could stretch out a reading like this would maybe be like 3 months, 3 to 6 months. So it feels like this year is a good time to make that shift. And the train is already starting to move. So don't be afraid to go after what you want to do. It's important. It's time. And you'll find a way to balance things out. All right. Let's now do an open card here for just other general sort of wild card messages. And then we'll do that final card after the meditation in a moment. We have the world, really good card. I was saying I was looking for this earlier. The world is reversed, but the world card is a chance for you to change things up. For those of you that are looking to bring something out into the world, this is distribution, and it's on a global or universal scale. So this is saying it is time to let it go. So if you've been working on something and you think it's, maybe it's ready, yeah, this is saying it's ready. For the rest of you, because this is kind of topsy-turvy, the way that the world is functioning has changed. We're living through history. We're not quite through it, but we're probably in the, I hope it's the denouement. I hope it's sort of like we're past the top of the bell curve, but there's been a lot of rapid changes. The 20s are going to be roaring and crazy. I saw 2022 to 2024 being as kind of like rapid growth. So this year's cleanup, mop-up duty and planting the seeds and making sure that you know which way that train's headed and you're not going to miss that connecting flight or that connecting journey. So catch up. This is time to catch up and to sort of change the way you've been thinking. What you were doing doesn't work anymore. Start to think of it in a different way. Start to put together the tools. I talk about this a lot. I like that it's shown here. Go into your toolkit, all of your requisite school tools, and sort of like rework them. Some of you might want to go back to school. Kind of came out of my mouth before I had time to think about what it meant, but the Eight of Pentacles could be going back to school. But for the rest of you, it's telling me that you have what it takes and you just have to reorganize it a little bit. So don't be afraid to do that. I've talked about my background. I'm using it, but not in the way that I thought. Journalism, film, and then I worked in corporate jobs with like marketing and all this other stuff. And really it's what's required for me to do this. I ask questions to the cards, to the guides, and I report to you. I'm a different type of reporter. I just reuse the skills. I have to write stuff all the time, all of those reviews. So look at what your skills are. You can take them and use them for something else. Maybe you originally learned them for the latter, for something else. So flip it around, flip the script upside down, try something different, and see yourself on a more sort of universal scale. But it is about moving. It is about distribution. And these two cards together are super powerful, even though this one's reversed. This is, I mean, the star and then the final card here, the world. This is about endings and beginnings. So when I wrote on that last card, what's next, you really want to meditate on it. We're going to look at it in the meditation here. What is next? Because you're going to manifest that. Okay. So before I get into the meditation, I know we're a couple minutes over. I hope you can all stick with me. It's an important reading today, and I'll look at your question in just a moment. But before we do that, I just want to say a quick thank you and give you some ways that you can connect with me. First of all, if you like this, and I hope you did, please hit like and subscribe. It's surprising how important that is on YouTube. It really does help us reach more people. So if you want someone else to see this, hit the thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and hit a comment later when this is on replay. It helps YouTube see this as a valuable video. So single most important thing that you could do and most valuable thing is hitting that thumbs up. If you want to make sure that you don't miss a future reading, you can hit the subscribe and you can opt into that bell icon. You can also follow me on social media. I'm at Nicholas Ashbaugh on most major social media platforms, and I use stories whenever they're available on those platforms. Twitter, I'm at @Ashbaugh, only one that's different. And let's see if there's anything else. I just want to say thanks for everyone that's done Super Chat. If you watch this later and want a different way to do it, you can also use the applaud button, or you can go, and the applaud button, I did it really fast. It's by the the thumbs up and thumbs down. And then also you can go to my website for information on how to be a patron. All right, with all that out of the way, let's meditate. And remember that you're going to hold a question for the end, something that you need some help with. So if I didn't cover something in a relationship, a job, or a life purpose, I want you to kind of think about it while we're meditating. And then I'll pull an extra card at the end and interpret the message for you. In the meantime, let's kind of combine the energy of the star and the stargazer, right? Because there's so much stellar energy that's coming through. I want you to see yourself, if you want to even just imagine this sort of serene view here, because this one's kind of nice. You could see yourself in an open field or at the top of a hill here with a friend, looking at the star or stars above you. That North Star that you're looking at, as you start to peer into it, you realize it's not just the North Star. This is actually you. This is your higher self. This is your soul. Sorry, I got some water on this card, which is unfortunate. So yeah, see yourself in that higher energy, in that soul space. And I want you to kind of gaze towards this. And as I pull out the singing bowl here, imagine what it is that you want to create. What do you see yourself doing in the future here? Imagine that just like Narcissus, you're capable of sometimes seeing an illusion, but in this particular situation, you're going to look past that illusion and look into the possibility. So rather than looking in the reflection, look at the star itself. And as you start to look at the star, I want you to feel this sense of familiarity and knowing. It's a higher self coming through. So close your eyes and feel the warmth and the light of the star as it shines down on your body. Take a deep breath and imagine that you could trace a circle of light around yourself as you exhale. And release any sort of preconceptions, fears, or anxieties that you might have about what's possible, what you can do, who you might be. Understanding now that you're looking into this version of yourself, you're actually seeing what's true. Not the reflection, not the mirage. You're now seeing to your core, your soul. And in this moment, I want you to realize, just like this card says, set your sights higher. Or when I heard Spirit the other day saying, think higher when I was asking for something. I want you now to step into the possibility and the realization that everything that you want, desire, and dream could come true. So hold that. Think it's possible. I'm ready for that. And I want you to start to feel, believe, and see what it's going to be like to step into the success of this moment. Close your eyes. Envision where you're headed. And just let the star energy radiate into your body. Start to connect with that. If you want to, you can even imagine that you kind of travel through that light and connect with that higher source. But in the meantime, you can just receive the light and kind of plug in for a moment. All right, take a moment now and just feel how good it is to not worry about what if. Putting in the what if something doesn't happen. I want you to replace it with what if it works? What if I was able to do everything that I dreamed and more? And I really want you to focus on that in the days that come. What if I can actually do this? And then change it to I am actually doing this, and then just change it to I'm doing this. Get very direct with the energy. Be very King of Swords with it and say, I'm ready for this, I'm doing this, and I can't wait to see how it all unfolds. One last deep breath. On the exhale, you can rub your hands together. Put your left hand on your heart, your right hand on top of that. Allow for some healing to happen here, since we saw the Three of Swords at the center. If there's anything in the past that has been painful that you've been holding on to, melt the sort of pain with this hold that you have on your heart in this moment. Just think like, I learned from that. I'll be better in the future. I'm ready now to step into the possibilities. It's going to get easier moving forward. And I love and forgive myself. From that, you can step into love and forgiving others. And gently open your eyes when you're ready. And let's take a look at your final question. All right, so whatever it is that you want me to take a look at, I just want you to think about it, hold it in your mind, hold it in your heart. Keep your hands on your heart if you want to while I'm looking at this, and we're going to pull a final card, see what the message is. We have the High Priestess. Hello, manifestation. So this is really reminding you of the importance of standing behind what you want to create, believing that it is possible, and really doing it. The High Priestess is about thoughts and words being powerful and manifesting. So this is telling me that if you see it and if you hold it in your mind and heart every day, it'll be okay. It's going to happen. It's also a very creative card. So if you are starting to receive downloads or ideas and they sound wild or crazy, go for it. We see up in the sky all of the sort of symbols from that story, and you can see the plane and him holding on to the birds and all of that dream, all of the ideas kind of there. So I want you to kind of go after your passion, go after your vision. And this is also a card of healing. So some of you may be deciding to even study something like nursing, or deciding to be a healer or a reader, connecting with your higher purpose. If you see it, it is. If you can't see it, it won't be. That's the most important thing that I can pull out from the High Priestess. You must be able to see it. So your visualization skills are the most important thing. So visualize and believe in something's potential, including your own potential, and then the eventuality will catch up with it. All right. So really great message there. And also you might be receiving messages through dreams and meditations as well. It may not be something that's visibly something that you can focus on, but you're going to see it and feel it in, again, in your energy. All right. Thank you so much, Libra. I know we went a couple minutes over. Thanks especially to my moderators, Maria and Dakota, for sticking around. I appreciate it. One other thing I wanted to mention is if you're interested in my book, it's called The Luminous Ones. It's another way to give back. I have this in both paperback and hardcover, also ebook. This is really for fans of science fiction or fantasy, along the lines of Lord of the Rings and Dune. So if you're looking for a lighter read, that's not it. But if you want something that's a little bit more of an escape, you can take a look at it. You can also read a free chapter on Amazon, Google, Kobo, Apple Books. So the first chapter is free, and you can decide if this is your cup of tea or not. And if not, no problems. There's other ways to support, like I said. So thank you again. One last time, if you want to follow me on social media, at Nicholas Ashbaugh across all the different social media platforms, at @nashbaugh on Twitter. Consider giving this a like, thumbs up, subscribe. And again, there's another option to use Applaud later if you'd like to. And thank you so much for everyone that has supported me month to month, whether it's being a patron on Patreon or here as a channel member, or if you've just done super chats or one-time contributions. Everything that I've talked about, by the way, is on my website. I pinned a link to that earlier. Thanks again, everybody. Let's see, this is Monday. I will be back again at the end of this week on Thursday and Friday. And I'll be doing Scorpio and Sagittarius next. You can look at my website for more information on the schedule. Take care. Have a great day, everyone. Great week ahead. Great month as well. Much love and light, and I'll see you soon. Thanks.